Hey everyone. Gusto is on the balcony, so it's a little bit open, and he might want to come inside after some time. I don't know yet. You can see him like here. We and he's also complaining. He is too cute. So I decided, hey James, I decided to do some inversions or a class about inversions today. And we will start with a little flow that will warm us up. I don't need that. Hi Anna. Because it's so hot here. But hello Rindra. But it's always important, at least to stretch, and especially for inversions. If you want to go in a controlled way and not just jump into it, it's really important to have a good forward fold. And then if you are like me and you hate or your body just didn't develop the right fail safes to exit inversions, so you are, I don't know if it is covered if I'm on covered that I fall into backbend. So in my case, when I do, for example, forearm stand, or when I used to do forearm stand, I still didn't have it solid enough, I would fall into a backbend. And I still do that from handstand. It's just the way I do it, and it will be different for everyone. Of course, it depends also on your gender. Like, men will usually be less flexible. In general, some will be extremely flexible, so it's not really everyone, but most of the men will jump into handstands first, and then they will need a lot of time to like develop the flexibility, and they will also be better at like the straight line because their body is more rigid and they can stay straight. While for women, it will be usually more about core control to stay in a straight handstand or headstand or whatever, because we are too wobbly and we will like collapse. And this is what I always say. Yes, Anna has a good point. One important thing is, if you are going to do some inversions, to really clear, especially at home. I mean, in the studio it's a little bit easier because you have an empty room basically most of the time, and you have some walls. So it's important for you to clear your space and make sure that you don't kick anything with your legs, or that you don't fall on something if you are going to, because it will happen, you might fall. Make sure you hydrate before the class. And using a wall, some teachers will say don't use a wall because it's making you really like dependent on it, and then you never go away from it, and then you never find balance. I did everything with the wall, always with sofa. I like to be safe. I think yoga is something that you're trying to, like in yoga, you're trying to cultivate like a safe kind of environment and calm mind. And if you're not feeling safe, you're not going to calm yourself down, and then you will not have the focus, and then you can't balance if you don't have the focus. So it's also about the breathing and about trying to be in focus. Another thing is the like attitude that you have. So you have to really believe in yourself, or you have to tell to yourself that I can do this. Like, I got this. It's not that hard, because it's not. And then it will be much easier for you to commit for that inversion. Yeah. Falling also it's like the way to do it. Like, there is no way, like no one was born to press into handstand. And if you think about it, balancing on your hands is just like another way of staying upright, Homo erectus. So it's just on your hands, not on your legs. And if you would expect from like a baby to stand up and be able to walk or stand on their legs without falling in the process many times, like tripping and even for years not being able to walk properly, and even as adults we still will trip, we'll still fall even from our legs. And the same with the hands. So learning how to fall is also important. We might do some exercises. Yeah, crutch, exactly. So it's like the things that kids also use, like furniture, or they use their parents to hold on to, so they don't, so they have something to help, and only afterwards they are able to be better and better and better, and they practice every day. So if you don't practice it, it's not going to happen. You have to try it again and again. Yeah, the head is close to the ground, so you're not going to hurt your head probably. Should be less scary. However, what is different is from standing on the legs is that in inversions your center of gravity is much higher. So, and that's a huge kind of thing, because the lower your center of gravity is, and Anna knows this because we were doing this on Wednesday on my Zoom class. The lower the center of gravity is, the better you can balance, so the more control you have. While in an inversion on the hands, the center of gravity is high, and like just a little bit of tipping of the center of gravity requires much more force to get back into center. That's why you actually have to be like more in control. And your balancing has to be more fine. Like you have to be really much better on your hands in the fine kind of movement than on your legs. Because those walk in like 5 to 10 seconds after. Yeah, but they walk on all like 4. It's easier, right? Because they stand up and they don't even have tripod. They already have 4 points. That's much easier to balance. So for them it's easier. While for a person, we walk on 2, we balance on 2 hands, or in the case of a headstand, it's actually 3 points usually. And then if you think about it on 1, it's even harder. So that's like the next level. So next step is one-handed handstand, or which for me, for example, it's super scary, balancing only on the head. For me, that's like, no, thank you. I'm not going to do that. I don't know, ever, because that's so scary. Yeah, we all are learning how to stand on the legs, especially on 1. Okay, let's start. So we will start in standing, since we are already talking about it, and how we are distributing the weight on the feet. And you can place the feet a little bit wider, as wide as your hips, so they are not like together, so you have a little bit more kind of awareness of where you have your weight, and you can sway from side to side, and swaying from side to side also when you are doing handstand. So when you're on your hands, I never tried it on the elbows though. I should try that. But I know on my hands, just this kind of swaying allows me to be more aware of like where my shoulders are at, which hand is like stronger at pushing, because it's all about pushing. If you would just collapse here, usually if you release your muscles and you release into your joints, so usually you end up on one leg, and it's really unstable. If you would raise as you collapse, as you lock your knee especially, so the knee is relaxed, the hip is relaxed, and then you bring your other leg up, it doesn't feel so stable as if you push from your feet Then you transfer your weight and then try to push. You microbend your knee. It's not really microbending, it's just trying to have the leg straight and supported with both muscles from both the front and the back. And then you bring your knee towards your chest from the other leg, obviously. And then even if you sway, you actually can't really sway that much. It's much harder because you're already so stable. So if you release, you can sway. And then if you push, you are straight. It's magic. So you can try the same on the second leg just so you're balanced. So lock your knee, especially if you are hyper flexible in your knees, hypermobile. Then the knee joint goes like all the way back. And then locking the hip is just pushing the hip to the side. You can release also your belly for the effect. So you can like a little bit like hunch over with your front body, and then you bring your other knee up. And then you can try to sway. You have to compensate a lot, you will fall. And then the other way, pressing from the feet down, unlocking the knee. So the knee can go forward and backwards, but then eventually finding a middle, engaging your quadriceps and also your hamstrings, pushing from your hip and bringing the other hip a little bit higher. So it's not too much, it's just a little bit. And then the knee comes up, your belly can come in, you can relax your shoulders, you can bring the chin in towards your throat, another stabilizing part of the whole line. And this is actually the easiest way to balance on your hands if you stack one part of your body on top of the other. So creating a straight but also somewhat not rigid but really stable line will be much easier to balance than something that is like loose, and then you have to use a lot of muscles. One finger handstand. Tip of the nose handstand. Okay, so come to the front of the mat, and this time we'll bring the legs or the feet together because we want to have what is going to happen in every inversion. The legs will be together. Actually, you can also do like legs wider in any kind of inversion, of course, but by bringing the legs together, you can tap a little bit more into the inner thighs. So you can imagine you want to squeeze the legs towards each other, and this will create more stability in your pelvis. Since pelvis can be, for some people, really wiggly, really unstable. And then you also squeeze from the outer hips, from like the upper part of your glutes, and this balances it out, balances the inner thighs. And then draw the energy from the ground all the way from the bottom, and then imagine that you want to really suck from the ground. We are trying to use the pada bandha, if you want to call it that way. So your foot, your heel, and the mounts underneath your toes are the basis for that suction cup. And your toes can relax for now. In a inversion, you eventually want to end up being engaged all the way to the toes, since this will allow you to go like and have the whole legs. Like sometimes thinking about the ends, like the fingers or the toes, helps in engaging the whole limbs, the whole arms, legs. Then bring the belly in. So this is very important to have stability in the low back, since this is very kind of imbalanced and also weak mostly in most of the people, and we are also not aware of it. And then the ribs in to really like cement it inwards. Then relax your hands for now and just try to bring the chin in towards your throat. Again, stabilizing the neck. The neck is actually not important. Only in headstand, where you want to have stable neck and somehow straight neck to not hurt it in any way. And then if you would go into a headstand, you can interlace the fingers. So you can try headstand like this. and then you create a little ball with your palms. And your elbows needs to be in front of you to have enough range to press forward in order to lift you away from the ground if you were inverted. And the palms come to the back of your head, still keeping your legs engaged, and you can press the head backwards. So this again engages those balancing, stabilizing muscles. As you press the head back, keeps your neck safe. And then you want to press from your elbows up without losing your ribs. So your ribs stay in and the elbows come up. And then someone just needs to pick you up like this, put you on the ground, and you should be good. I also like to squeeze my elbows in because this helps me to engage the serratus muscle. Creates a protraction in the shoulder blades, so the shoulder blades slide away from each other and they slide a little bit more forward. And you're using also your shoulders to push away, not just... Actually, you have to use your shoulders. So your shoulders, your serratus is pressing against the ground or the wall in this case, the ceiling rather. And that helps you to stay mostly on your forearms instead of your head. Good. Inhale, reach your arms up, release your hands first. And exhale, bend in your hips and go into forward fold. And you can stay here for a little bit. You can bend your knees. You can relax your head, shake it out. Big inhale through your nose. And exhale. Then bring the right hand underneath your face. And then reach the left arm up, twisting your chest up. If you want, you can extend or try to extend your left knee. Squeeze your belly in, inhale, look up, and then twist the chest even more, opening your collarbones as you roll the shoulders back and down towards your hips. Inhale, exhale, stay, and then inhale here. Reach a little bit higher through your left fingers, and exhale. Release the left palm down and we'll twist to the other side. Left arm comes up. Try to be sticking your sitting bones up, keeping your spine as much straight as possible. Or another option, if this is too hard for you, can come onto your fingers or having a block underneath your hand. So you can twist with a straight spine. And again, the right knee can come straight. In this case, chest comes higher. Inhale. Exhale, stay. Squeeze your belly in. Inhale, exhale, release, fold over the legs. Inhale, we will halfway lift. So bring your chest up, bend the knees a little bit, roll the shoulders back as you open your collarbones, squeeze your belly towards your thighs. Exhaling, bringing the hips a little bit higher. One more time, inhale, halfway lift, and exhale. Try to imagine you want to squeeze something in between your thighs and your ribs as you fold. And then bring the palms down. Step back into a high plank. So in the plank, another kind of variation of a straight line that can somehow simulate your inversions. And again, important thing is your legs, imagine you want to squeeze them in. You can keep your feet as wide as your hips, but squeeze also your glutes. Bring your belly in, so don't release it down. If it tends to like relax here, try to bring it in as if you wanted to tuck your tailbone a little bit, and then press from your palms. Bring your ribs in, and as you press from your palms, it actually uses this serratus muscle, so you're working that muscle that needs to be engaged when you are pressing away into your heart, and hoping that you are still staying in your plank. Okay, inhale, exhale, knees down, open your chest in a cow tilt, and then bend the elbows. Start reaching forward with your chest, with your chin all the way forward to the front of your mat, releasing the chest and the chin down. Inhale, exhale, untuck the toes, and then slide the palms underneath your shoulders. And you can roll your spine like a cobra, or you can slide onto your belly with weight on your palms. Inhale, reach your chest forward, squeeze the elbows in. and exhale, press back to your downward facing dog. So in your down dog, again, employing those muscles in your core, your belly, your ribs, and your serratus muscles by trying to rotate your arms externally, which means basically your triceps wants to wrap towards each other. You can bend your knees a little bit, bringing the heels a little bit higher. Shake your head if you tend to look over to the screen. Just try to release it for a little bit. And then bring yourself even longer in your shoulders. So press away, but don't let your ribs go out. Keeping your ribs in, and just press from your fingers, from your inside palms, away from the ground. And then if you want, you can try to bring your heels down. So I didn't start that like a pedaling movement right away. I hope you are not doing it. If you feel like you always need to do it, maybe some days in some days in your practice don't just start pedaling. Try to find a still down dog right away. And then if you're like me that you never do the pedaling, you can change and do the pedaling eventually. Inhale, exhale. We'll walk the palms towards the legs, but try to keep weight on your hands. So you can again bend the knees. You can look forward and then try to bring the weight on over to your right palm, lifting the left, walking it just one foot closer, and then bring the weight to the left palm, but press away, make a little step, and then the other palm, and then always press away as you walk all the way to the back. Bring the heels down, bend the knees, inhale, halfway lift, open your collarbones, and exhale, fold. Roll up to standing, bending the knees, squeezing your belly in, allowing your hands, your head to rest. They go last, or your head goes last, rolls last. Bring your shoulders forward, up, back and down. One more time, inhale. Up and exhale, back and down. Okay, move your wrist a little bit. You can make fists and move the wrist in circles. You can take big breath in, exhale, and we'll roll back down into that forward fold. So set your feet parallel. Start with the bent knees a little bit. Bring the chin to your throat, and then keep your hands hanging. Squeeze your belly in. It will help you to round also in your low back a little bit. Inhale, halfway lift once you are there. And exhale, fold. Try to bring your hips higher, your head lower. And then walk the palms forward. This time again, trying to bring the weight over to one palm and then the other. So you can even lift your heels, bending the knees, and feeling how it is to walk on your hands without actually having your legs over your head. Again, a simulation of something that might happen in the future. Find your downward facing dog, shake your head, and we'll inhale, reach your right leg up, and exhale, bring the knee to your chest, shoulders over the wrist. One more time, inhale, one-legged downward facing dog, right leg comes up, and exhale, knee to your chest, and then come forward with your shoulders, press away from your palms, squeeze that knee in towards your chest, look forward, use your back foot, back toes to propel you forward and your hips high before you step the right foot forward and between your palms, closer to your right palm. Left knee comes down, low lunge, reach your arms up. And exhale, release the hands towards your heart. Inhale, come a little bit higher with your hips, chest comes up. And exhale, squeeze your legs together. Squeeze your left glutes as you bring your hips a little bit lower. Inhale. Exhale, hips just a tiny bit lower. Fingertips down to the ground or onto the blocks from the side. Inhale, halfway lift. So imagine you want to open your chest and send the chest bone forward, and then exhale, extend, or not extend, but flex your right heel as you bring your hips back. So this is what I was talking about. The hips and hamstrings are important. Inhale, come forward with your knee, bending it, and then exhale backwards. One more time, inhale forward, and exhale back. Good. Come to your fingertips, or maybe even onto your blocks. Squeeze your belly in, and this time we will try to round. Inhale, and exhale, try to lift your right heel up. So having strong quadriceps and hip flexors is important. And also it's impossible for you to lift the leg if your hips are like too far backwards or too far forwards, since you're much closer towards the ground. So you want to keep your hips above your back knee to be really far away from the ground, and fingertips right underneath the shoulders in order to lift. And there is like a pull from your belly. There's roundness from your upper back as you lift. And then release. Come forward. Bend the front knee, back knee will come up, back heel spins down. Squeeze the legs towards each other, but keep your right knee. So you are really in control of your right knee here. So keep it facing forward as your toes. And slowly, your legs or feet are pressing down. Left arm comes up, right arm comes up. Inhale here. And exhale, release the shoulders. Look towards your right fingers as you bend a little bit deeper into your right knee. It's always nice and like safe to keep that knee right over your ankle. You can adjust your length in order to do so, to have it there. Or maybe if you are a little bit higher, so your thigh doesn't need to necessarily be parallel with the ground. It can be a little bit higher, but work on opening the knee. As if you wanted to bring the outer right thigh underneath. Squeeze your belly in. Inhale, dancing warrior, flip your right palm, side bend to the back, and exhale, forward. Side angle pose, elbow onto your knee, maybe fingers down towards the ground, left arm comes up, inhale here, and exhale, look down. So we will come from here into triangle variation. You can keep your fingertips on the ground, you can come even lower. If you're on your knee, you can come onto your fingertips and then try to stretch your front knee. So you have a little bit of weight on your fingers, but it's also possible without that weight. And going for the stretch of your inner thighs and a little bit like the inside hamstrings, different part of your of your hamstring. And then twist the chest up. Try to find a long line in your spine. So straighten your right side body as you look up. Exhale, stay here. And then look down, bend the right knee, left hand comes down, back heel spins up, and right arm comes up into a twist. Inhale, reach up, shoulders down, and exhale, release. We will come into a twisted half moon. So for this one, I suggest you to use block just in order to stay a little bit higher and straight, because, for example, my hands are really short. I don't know about yours. It also depends on your hamstrings, or using a chair in front of you. But then remove the chair for the inversions themselves. So come into your high lunge. Prepare your block a little bit more forward and to the left. And then you come through a third warrior. So you can use the hand on the block if you like to stand on your right leg. All this is teaching you how to balance. Again, the knee doesn't lock. You are squeezing your left hip a little bit higher than your right one, and then you're going to extend through the whole leg, left leg, all the way to your toes. Then prepare your fingertips or your palm on your block right underneath your shoulder. Inhale and exhale, twist from there. If this is too easy, you can go lower with your block or with the palm down. Again, don't collapse with your left hip down. Press it higher and twist the chest higher, maybe even looking up. Inhale, exhale, both palms down. And we will do standing splits, which might be too much on your leg, right leg, but bear with it. Inhale, halfway lift, you can bend the knee, standing knee, and then exhale, fold. And this might feel like the worst kind of thing ever. Try to press a little bit more from your standing leg, but don't open your left hip too much. Keep squeezing your inner thighs at the same time. Then bend the knee, place the whole palms down with your index fingers facing forward. Lean a little bit onto your palms, extend your elbows, and do a little hop. Maybe you switch your legs because that one leg is super tired. Maybe you switch 2 times. And then you can end up in your plank pose, going through a vinyasa, knees chest chin or chaturanga, inhaling into your cobra or upward facing dog, and exhale, downward facing dog or child's pose if you feel like that's enough. Big inhale wherever you are. Exhale. One more inhale. Exhale. Okay, second leg. Lift your left leg up, and this feels like it's the same leg. Just know that we switched the legs when we were stepping forward. So this is actually the same leg. You're feeling your tired right leg on the ground. Exhale, knee to your chest. Come forward with your shoulders. Press higher with your hips from your palms. Inhale, left leg up, 3-legged down dog. Exhale, tiger crawl in your plank. Press from your palms, from your back toes, from your core. Look in between your wrists. Flex your left foot and try to slowly, with control, step it forward. Legs are in 2 lines. Right knee down. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, release your palms. You can place them in Anjali Mudra. Inhale here, chest higher. You can even go for slight back bend. And then exhale, try to keep your belly in, squeezing your legs as you bring your hips down. Inhale, come higher. And exhale, down with your hips. Stay down with your hips. Inhale. Exhale, keep squeezing your thighs together. Keep pressing from the back foot, just to keep a little bit less pressure on your back knee, especially if it's sensitive. Fingertips down on your box. Left foot flexes towards you. Inhale. First lift your chest. Try to straighten in your spine, and then exhale, hips come back for half splits. Inhale forward. Exhale back. And you will know what's coming. So adjust your hips so they are really on top of your back. And again, if you have like lazy hips, I don't want to say lazy hips, but I said it. So your hips should never like dip, especially if you're standing or having weight on one leg. You don't want the hip to dip, you want to engage. And that way your other hip will actually be higher, and then it will be easier to lift that leg. While if you are collapsing or even bringing your hip back, it's much harder to lift. It's even turning my toes out, so maybe that's like a kind of way to see if you are dipping your hips, if your toes are pointing a little bit out. So try to have your toes pointing up. Squeeze your inner thighs, belly in, press from your fingers around your spine, and then lift your heel. And try to hold it there for 5, or try to keep it, try to bring it up, or try keeping it, bringing, whatever. You do your best. 2 and 1, release, rebend. Back heel will spin down. Preparation for that second warrior. So first, bring your weight onto your feet, so you press your legs down. Imagine you want to squeeze or bring your legs towards each other, but your right hip is opening already to the back, while your front knee is staying forward. Right arm up, left arm up. second warrior. Exhaling, bending that front knee a little bit more. Adjust the length in between your feet again. Bring your belly in. And your glutes are again squeezing. They're opening your legs to the outside. Relax your shoulders down, keeping long back neck. Look towards your left fingers. Inhale. Exhale. Left palm flips. Inhale. Dancing warrior, side bending it to the back of the mat. And exhale, side angle pose. And then whatever variation you did on the other side, you can bring your hips a little bit lower. Your fingers maybe touch the ground. Inhale, look up, twist the chest up, and exhale. We'll try to extend that left knee. And you can help yourself with your fingers on the ground or some pressure on that elbow, but on the knee, but try to keep it minimal and try to keep using your legs, squeezing them. Lengthening your left side by sending your left hip more backwards. Inhale. Exhale, maybe you side bend a little bit closer towards the ground. It's not side bending in your hips, in your waist, but rather in your hips. And then release, bending your left knee. Right arm comes down. Back heel spins up. Keeping your hips in one line. Inhale, reach your left arm up. Exhale, stay here. Press from your 2 feet equally. Inhale. Exhale. So coming for that twisted half moon. Parivrita Ardha Chandrasana. You want to bring your block a little bit more forward to the right side from your leg. And then standing on your left leg. So your right palm is going to be on the block. You're engaging through your core, through your right glutes, and through whole right leg, all the way towards the toes. Inhale first, with your upper body facing down. You can come onto your fingertips even. And then exhale, try to twist. This doesn't have to be really deep. Just doing your best at twisting. Maybe you look up. Exhale, hold. Inhale. Exhale, release fingertips down towards the ground, bending your left knee, and then eventually both palms come down. You can take a little rest with your back foot on the mat. Try to grab the mat with your fingertips. Press from the inside palms down. You can make a little step or hop to the middle of the mat with your foot. So there is like a little bit of more space in between your hands and your foot. Right arm comes up. Inhale, bring your chest higher. And then exhale, fold. So right like a little bit higher. Palms down. And then you can do little hops. Maybe. And don't overthink it. Keep looking in between your wrists, it's very important. Try not to be too much aware of your legs or anything else. Just gaze onto your palms. And it will make you reference. And then go to your vinyasa, find your downward facing dog or child's pose. You can take a sip from your water or whatever you are drinking, and we will go and directly into those inversions. So this was more like preparation for handstand and also the jumps, but eventually, if it's never too soon to start with those jumps to get a little bit more used to them. And when you are just starting it, it's probably very wobbly. It also helps if you film yourselves and then look at it. I will explain now the basis of the handstand jump from one leg or with one leg. And then you can film yourself and then you can compare and assess what you are doing good and what maybe might be improved. So you want to bring in any kind of inversion in order not to jump too much and not to use too much energy. you want to bring as much weight forward already. And as I said, the center of gravity is in your hips. So bringing the weight over your wrist, over your palms, means the hips coming over. And this can be done in two ways. So it can be done through like a hollow front body with everything round it, which will bring more weight, because also your back and your hips come back over. Or it can be done through a back bend where it's just your hips and the leg. However, when you go through that way, you already are not bringing enough weight, first of all, because you are not bringing your shoulders, your chest. Like your chest is like literally keeping you still leaning towards the ground, although your hips and the leg can be coming all the way nicely up. But if you don't close your chest and you go through like a back bend, it's doable. Some people do it. I can do it. It feels a little bit less strong and less controlled, but it's possible, and you can come into a nice back bend, but it will be back bendy. Also, another thing that keeps to happen is that your legs tend to open. I'm not saying that it's your case, but this happens often. So this is why we need to keep engaging those inner thighs, squeezing the legs together, since if your hips will open, one hip will lead. It's again an imbalance in your body, and it's hard to like bring it into center, click the hips so they are above, both of them above your shoulders, again stacking, instead of like one hip still leaning backwards. Although that will happen if you are going for like splits. And another kind of thing that helped me a lot to be a little bit better at hopping was to imagine that I want to plug that one leg, that thigh, into my hips. So this helped me to get that correction, as I said, to bring those two hips into one line along the shoulders. You can imagine this from a downward facing dog. You look at your feet and your toes, and then you try to bring your right foot sole away from the ground. So you want to bring it in as if you wanted to bring your right toes up and lift something that was on your foot. Maybe imagine a block, yoga block. You can try it with the other foot. Being on the top of your foot, left foot in this case, and then you want to raise it up, not behind you, just up. And then focus what's happening in your belly. Bring it in, bring your ribs in, and just the foot, the toes left. There is like this kind of like a happening in your core. And this should happen also when you jump with one leg. That will allow the other hip, the leg that you are leaving behind, to click and to find its place in that straight line. Also, try to keep your elbows straight, although you might feel like you might bend them, and that will help you to press higher afterwards. It's a little bit dangerous if you don't have strong enough arms, although it might happen. It happens to me when I try to press. I don't kick with enough force, then I bend my elbows, and this is like if you compare it with legs, it's like when you want to stand up, and that doesn't make sense. Let me find a metaphor for that. Basically, sometimes it might happen that you slide, and if you have your knees a little bit bent, it will help you to stay upright. While if you would have locked knees, as I am asking you to have locked elbows or straight elbows rather, you will slide and you will fall, right? So this is why the brain keeps bending the elbows, because it feels like I will have more control to push up. However, it's not effective, and you have to also use a lot of energy to press up when you bend your elbows, and that's tiring you, so it's not effective. So just don't well, don't do that. Elbows straight as much as possible. And squeezing the hands towards each other will allow your shoulders to stay stable and strong. Okay, we will come again into the one-legged standing split with the right leg standing on the ground and the left leg coming up. So you can bend the knee, that's always possible, and we will try to just jump and keep that right knee in, but at the very top you will try to plug it in. If you feel like this is scary, you can use a wall or something stable behind you, like doors that don't open towards you or away from you. So no doors rather, or you lock your doors that no one can unlock from the other side. That's an option. If you use something that is from glass, that's also not very safe. So glass doors are also not the best. If you are new, if you are a little bit heavier, the wall is basically the best. So palms down, you look in between the wrists, and then you try to jump, keeping that one knee at your chest. The other leg can't be wobbly. So it's super straight. You lean forward, you bring a little bit more weight over to your fingertips. So it's more with your shoulders forward over your fingertips or over your knuckles than over your wrist. And then the other leg, the knee, comes into your chest and you plug that knee or that leg inwards into your hips. And then you try the same thing on the other side. I just want you to, I wish I could see you. I'm also using the wall, by the way, just so you don't feel like you're alone. Also, if you use like a super thin wall, make sure that it's not too thin, that you don't fall all over. It's never, you have to always stay safe. Then that plug actually works a little bit better if you keep your legs straight than if you would. So legs straight, like in the down dog, and then trying to plug it in. If you want to bend the knee, it makes your core a little bit more stable. But that plug is not as pronounced. It's more like kicking yourself with the knee into your chest. How is it going? We will move from the handstand jumps further into the headstand after this. Take a little break to slow down your breath. So taking a few inhales and exhales, you can sit on your heels or cross-legged. You can even close your eyes. Another advantage of these jumps is getting your heartbeat a little bit up. Okay. Use my boyfriend. That's amazing. So using someone to spot you is also very helpful if you believe them. But it's also nice if you like learning to trust someone. If you use someone as a wall. Okay, headstand. So we'll try several variations. We'll try the classic tripod, or rather classic supported, and then the classic tripod. For the supported, we already did this kind of exercise while standing. You can sit on your heels, and then we will bring our upper body forward as in a child's pose. And the elbows and the forearms will come down. Again, you want the forearms to be long, forward, backwards, in order to have enough pushing power, enough leverage. but also it will tap a little bit more into your serratus muscle. So you want to press away from your shoulders. Bring the chin in towards your chest and then the top of the head down. In order to bring the head down, you will probably need to lift your hips up. And then you want to press the head, the back of the head into the palms into the back of the head. Press the elbows down, and then you can lift the knees when you take your toes. And you can stay here. This is already a headstand. You're standing on your head, just without the legs. And again, we want to bring as much weight over the head as possible. So you can walk the feet closer to you, to have the hips to come more backwards, more into the line over your head. If you feel too much pressure on your head, you sit down back and release a little bit. Stay in your child's pose. It takes not just practice, but also some time for your neck to get used to have some weight, the weight of your body on it. So I suggest starting with like one leg up maybe, and staying there maybe for a few seconds, for a few breaths, so you can come into that headstand preparation. You walk, you bring one leg up, or maybe just knee towards your chest, and staying here, pressing from your elbows and training to have more weight on your elbows, on your forearms, than on your head. And then you can change, and then can be the other leg up, squeezing your inner thighs if it's all the way up, and then staying here, pressing from your elbows, and then you can release and take a break. Already this is hard. It's hard for me. So even if you're not used to do headstand, just staying in like a variation with one leg up is a great way to have all the, I don't know if there are any kind of advantages from inversions, except for like the rush, adrenaline rush, and maybe like a good feeling of achievement at the end. I don't believe in like that it will like somehow heal your body if you are inverted, because you are inverting just for like such a tiny amount of the time. It's like a few seconds. It doesn't help your body. If you would invert yourself for an hour, then maybe like something would shift, but for a few seconds it doesn't really change anything. However, it trains your body. It's a nice exercise and it's a nice practice, and everyone finds something different in it, and it's a little bit addictive also, especially if you like to set goals for you. Good. The other headstand, it's a little bit more easier for some people, so everyone will have their own version that is there for them a little bit easier. And for this one, what helps is if you put something underneath your head, because some people will have like a very weird shapes of the head, and if you don't have thick enough mat, it might hurt and you will have a little bit more weight on your head. But the position of the head is the same, so you are trying to keep the neck straight, pressing from the top of the head on the ground, and the palms will create an equal triangle with your head. Again, having them as wide as your shoulders and not too close, because you need to have them further away. It's the same as the elbows, to be able to press. The further they are away from your head, the better you will be able to press. However, if you put them too far, then your wrist would need to bend too much. So what you can do is to find like a middle point, and then also you can turn your index fingers or your fingers a little bit more out to the outside, and that will help you if you feel your wrist and if you don't have like strong enough hands, and it will also help you to squeeze the elbows in towards each other. That was too much explanation, not doing anything. You can also use block to help you to bring your hips a little bit further. In both cases, in the supported, also in the tripod. Again, starting from that, sitting on the heels position, Vajrasana, then the palms come near your knees, so from the side of your knees, already turning your hands to the sides a little bit. And then you tuck your chin in towards your neck, you bring your upper body down, you bring your head down, and if you do it in this way, hopefully your palms will end up in that one-sided triangle. You can walk your knees a little bit more back. You can bring your block a little bit closer, finding a nice spot on the top of your head, and then press from your palms. That's very important. You press the palms down, you lift the knees. The palms are still pressing, the elbows are squeezing in. And then you can bring one knee on top of one elbow, and then the other knee on top of the other elbow. This way you will have still two less weight on top of your head to come up. So in order to come up with your hips, you need to like press, and it's a little bit harder. Slowly coming down with your feet on the block, taking a break in your child's pose again. So if you want to come up all the way, you can come with one leg and then the second leg. Again, if that sounds scary, wall is your friend. It will be much easier if you bring one leg up, because there will be more weight up. However, you can also try a variation where just one knee stays on your elbow, and then one leg comes up. This way it feels really strong. If you don't go too far with that leg, you will not feel like you will tip over and behind. The trick on bringing that knee on the top of the elbow is to bend the knee all the way, so you create this little nice flat surface that sits on the top of your elbow. If you would keep your knee not bent all the way, then it will be unstable, so it will like wiggle and it will have hard time to find a stable position. So bending that knee all the way to find that nice flat surface, and then you can maybe even change. One knee comes onto your elbow, one leg comes up, and then the other knee on your elbow. Don't forget to bend it all the way. Maybe you lift up into a crow pose. If you are finished with this child's pose, then you can also release your wrists, since they, as I said, if you're using your palms properly, if you have set them properly, then they will bend quite a lot. There are other variations of headstand, but they are more scary. And I'm not fan of them, because then in those ones you don't have as much weight on your arms anymore, and it's more on your palms. Another thing that you can look at if you record yourself in a headstand is to try to have straight spine. So the straighter your spine is, the less you need to use your spine muscles that are not as strong to bring the hips all the way into that alignment, into that one line sticking on top of your head. So if you see yourself in the recording being here, then you try to lift your legs. Your hips will be too heavy if you bring your spine straight. This is why that forward fold is so important. It will be much easier if you have most of the weight already on top of your head to lift your legs, your feet up, and eventually your whole legs up into a straight line. I hope that made some sense. Wobbly is a perfect wobbly, yes, wobbly, wobbles. That's what I have in my handstand all the time. Too much wobbles, too less stability. It's the opposite of stability, the opposite of what you want to have in a inversion. You can lie on your back. We'll take few back bends to counter, since this kind of preparation for inversions and coming into inversions is a lot of forward fold. It's important to also open the front body, so you can take a little break here on your back. You can bring the feet down, feet soles down, the knees facing up, bend. And then any kind of variation of bridge pose. You can do robot arms in your bridge pose. You can try to press a little bit more from your heel, squeezing your glutes as you lift your hips up, walking yourself on top of the shoulders, on the tips of the shoulders, squeezing your inner thighs still, and then trying to bring the chest higher, and then pressing a little bit more from your heels to also engage your hamstrings, since we were just stretching them. So trying to squeeze the heels even towards you will help you to engage them. And if you want to stretch also your hands, you can either stretch the other way, so in fingers interlace underneath your back and you stay here, or the other way, other way, and you come into your wheel. If you don't have the wheel, puppy pose is your friend for stretching the hands above your head. And slowly release the hips down. Little break with your knees together, your feet wide as your mat, your palms on your belly and your chest, or grabbing opposite elbows above the head. A few breaths. And feel free to go for a second round of back bends, wherever you feel like you need to do. Maybe it's the puppy pose for stretching your chest and your shoulders. Or maybe it's also some kind of variation of cobra or sphinx pose to also stretch your thighs and your hip flexors. Maybe your bow pose. That's a nice also stretch for the very similar to bridge, but a little bit different, since you are pushing a little bit differently against from the ground, away from the ground. And then ending again on your back, taking a twist. If this is not your first class with me, you know the twist at the end. So twisting to the right side for a few breaths. Twisting from your chest, from your shoulder rather than your knees. Also imagining that you want to create more space in between your top hip and your open shoulder. Maybe adding to the twist also your head, your neck. And then going for the other side, slowly, carefully. Especially after the back bends and that one twist, the other twist might feel a little bit sticky. Maybe trying to prolong your breath in your twist, especially since it's very not comfortable position for your lungs. Your chest rarely goes into this kind of position, and your lungs are definitely not used to breathe deeply. Except if you do a lot of Ashtanga, where you do really deep twists and you're trying to stay there for deep breaths. So come back to the middle, bring your knees in towards you, bring your head up, and take a little, or make a little box, a little ball from yourself And then squeeze your knees a little bit. You can bring your belly in, rounding your back a little bit more on the mat. It will probably tip you over to one side, probably your dominant side. Inhale. Exhale. Release. You can lie on your mat for a little bit, taking a few breaths in your Shavasana, relaxing your muscles on your face, on your arms and legs, on your upper body in the front, and then on the back side, your whole spine. When you're ready, try to find your way into a seated position, probably with your eyes still closed. Taking a little time to focus on your breath in a seated position, finding a long spine to create space for your breath. Eventually opening your eyes. Thank you so much. This little bit longer class. Not too much. It's 35. Thank you, Anna, for joining. Thank you, James. I think yoga is always fun. I mean, you can also make like your inner jokes in your head. You can also make your own jokes if the teacher is not funny. Like from your previous experiences, or maybe laughing at, I don't know, whatever what you just saw. Okay, you guys, thanks so much. Thank you everyone that joined later. And now there are some people joining always later after they find that I streamed, which is okay. I'm so glad that you feel improvements, James. I mean, it's not just me, it's you that you join me every time I do something. So it's your commitment. It's not that I transformed you. It's that you allowed yourself to be transformed and you improved. If that makes sense. So it's about practice. Peace to you too. Yeah, totally. And have a nice day, a nice weekend. Bye.